I know I have gotten a lot of votes because I wanted to get to start the entry on reviewing another episode on the Incredible Hulk. Episode that I'm going to review is Prometheus Part 1 and 2, which is from Season 4 of the Incredible Hulk TV series. The one that I'm watching here, if you're watching this one as well, because as you guys know, I've been watching the channel, because I've started getting the whole entry on reviewing the Incredible Hulk Prometheus episode. If I'm not mistaken, though, the one that I'm watching here, the one that I was watching on the Incredible Hulk TV series Ultimate Collection, even though Prometheus Part 1 and 2 is a two-part episode from Season 4 of the Incredible Hulk series, which I haven't done a review like this before until now. So, let's dive into the review. Let's begin here. Hey guys, this is RoniK95 here, and today I'm going to be doing an episode review, and this time it's a two-part episode once again, and today I'm going to be reviewing the episode from the 4th season of The Incredible Hulk, Prometheus. Yes, this is a two-part episode from Season 4 of The Incredible Hulk, because I just want to cover this episode. I mean, I promised myself I would get in the entry on reviewing some episodes from the Incredible Hulk series, because that's how I started getting the entry on reviewing episodes, though. Which I will get to as soon as I can, as well. Next month I might cover... Next week I should cover Mystery Man Part 1 and 2 from the 2nd season of the Incredible Hulk series, though. So, let's not waste any more time. So, let's review the episode from the 4th season of The Incredible Hulk, because this is Prometheus. Part 1 and 2, though. So let's begin. We started off with these scientists have got something of how they got something on a deepspace.net, though. Particularly of something of what they ever come across, of what they have been tracking down. Something on the computer line, and it was basically of what they expected, which is the something from outer space. We get to see David Banner fishing at the river stream by the water dam or whatever, something, when he was trying to fish in the water, but until he got it in the neck, or almost, yeah, until he got it, until on those rocky edge roads, or those stones, until he sees the woman who has almost been slipped into the water, which the woman's name is Kathleen, or Katie for short. So basically David has to save her from drowning from the water, which is a good thing. Otherwise, he has saved her life, though. Otherwise, she could have drowned as well. Despite that she's been blind, she took him to the cabin, particularly. How she was introduced to this and that one, particularly. She wanted to cook up some soup, particularly. Of course, that explains why, to the fact for how this all has came across, for how this basically, just because this all has gotten to them, yeah, when she was, or some kind of soup that she was making for David Banner, though, particularly, of how when she was very talented at piano, when she may be going a little way, of how this goes for this fact of this. Then we get to the toy shop, of how the toy store owner knew that the creature made a hole through that wall when the reporter Jack McGee notices that he could have captured the creature, especially for the information, which it all has got. By this time, of course, they encountered something that looked like a cylinder, which is the Leo object, which is made some of nickel and magnetism or something like that. Because they have reported something strange, which is the Leo object meteor, which it has some gamma range of what they, because they have, which is something came from outer space in that particular. So they had to contact Prometheus in this particular, because there was an impact time on the location in the Ashley National Forest in Utah, 19 miles of what they have encountered. So the military project Prometheus has gotten to what they have gotten to for the most ways of how if something is strange happening from space in this episode as well, because beyond of this explains why, for the fact when Jack McGee notices the military of how something going on about this Prometheus, especially for the restricted area zone. But this wasn't long until he got the coat without noticing, and hit, which is basically what the military has as well. By this time, when this, of course, Katie with David Banner wanted to see something, but they were strolling along in the forest woods, especially if they were searching for clues everywhere of what they expect. Of course, this explains of how if there's anything, if they pick something of what they have just noticed of what they hear, like winds and birds, and as well as the creek from the direction of what they could figure out a way of what they're up to, south, from northeast to down south, or of the river or stream, especially with the floodgates as well in this, especially with how the dam came from, and from northeast especially. But this is particularly, how it wasn't long until the meteor or Leo object has crashed into the forest, when it landed right into Earth in the National Forest in Utah, especially where David and Katie has realized something crashed right into the forest. But this wasn't long until David has encountered a meteor that has crashed through the mountainside of the forest. What he has noticed is burning trees and stuff as well. Yeah, because that's particularly of what he had discovered. But then this wasn't long, particularly, because he realized that was a big rock meteor but then he fell into it, and then his hand got stung by bees on there, and that causes him of how it's stinging him. But this led him to a Hulk out transformation, and then he turns into the creature. The Hulk realized that those bees might have stung him, and then for the Hulk, this wasn't long until the Hulk has thrown the beehive with swarm full of bees or something right into the air like that as well, until when the creature has to stop the burning tree and then pushes it aside, no matter how strong the creature is in that one, because that's how it was until he notices a meteor of what the creature has encountered. of how this particularly is what it seems to go as how he notices, as for this point out as well. But yeah, the meteor may be full of gamma ray radiation as well, but the creature has taken off through the area. When Jack McGee wanted to know the answers of these something happening with what's going on, something has to do with Prometheus as well. And even the military wants to know for this and that. But when the creature was walking through the forest, though, we get to where Katie was playing classical music on the piano until she heard something of who's at the door. But she realized she doesn't knew if the creature's at the door, but she had to lock the door, barricade herself until the creature has knocked the door over. So she wanted to realize of who the creature was. But if she could have figured out a way if the creature is Banner in that one. But this was until the reverting back to David. But it didn't turn David back to normal. So, especially when he has like the wide eyes in that one. Which is a shocking truth of how this happened. Particularly of what they expect to know. For the whole reason of that, if something might have happened, when David sees the reflection on the teapot, the reflection of himself, which never reverts him back to normal, because he's still in his a demi-Hulk form of what David is, which has never happened to him before. At this point, of course, when the military realize of something is happening, of how the meteor is in the restricted area, when all the citizens had to evacuate. But then, when Katie told David, who's still in his demi-Hulk formation, though, that she has not to true his identity, especially that's a secret, so he wouldn't run into Jack McGee and that one. Especially if he could find the cure, if he could prevent from becoming the creature. But this wasn't long until the military has asked Katie to evacuate from the area. As when, at this point of how they could have ever realized. But she has ditched the military truck just so she could find David, who is inside the cabin, which is basically in the forest, of how she could evacuate. So she could bring him to her brother's place, though. And this was how they noticed it was the huge rock, which is the meteor from space in that one. But this wasn't long until they were basically surrounded by these military helicopters that are in conjunction with Prometheus. Especially in the restricted area, especially when they have circling all around, when David, who's still in his demi-Hulk form, has thrown the branch of a tree out of its way, right where the meteor is, because the military and the helicopter pilots who are part of the Prometheus realize something weird is going on, especially when they have a look. See what David's eyes are. Especially the green eyes of especially this half transformation of the Hulk that David is, particularly. But this is how it was. If they could have asked David and the girl who's with him, particularly, to prevent away from the area that is restricted when the meteor was there. At this part, David turns into the Hulk, especially in the restricted area. So they could not believe of what they have noticed in the restricted area in the Project Prometheus, especially if they ever got a close up at the creature. So they had realized that was some possible ET in the restricted area. When the Hulk has got the hold of a branch of a tree by throwing at the helicopter, and these two pilots from the helicopter has gotten out before the helicopter explodes. So the helicopter with the red contained metal thing, or whatever that was, or something, has captured the Hulk with the girl in this part. And the Hulk has just making dents by banging on the metal when he was captured like some kind of alien. Well, technically the Hulk is basically a green creature who's basically is human, but it's part of what David has become as well. Of how when Prometheus has recruiting some people from everywhere, such as Charlene, as well as the other two guys that are also part of the Prometheus, of how the creature has been captured in. So they have to go to the mountain, or especially where the military complex, which is inside of a mountain, of how they could have realized. So they had to figure out a way, an intuitive how the alpha units of how this goes, particularly with those microwave shields, of how they could put it in a caution in the area, though. It seems to be going of how to the sterilization of how they could realize of how they could have got a look at the creature, especially in which is how they've been studying him like he's some kind of possible extraterrestrial who's been captured. When they put him down in the holding area as well, because they wanted to take a look at the height and the body and the facial structures of how they could have describing the creature, and the color of its skin, which is indeterminate, could be green and all. And they tried communicating with the creature, if he could speak though, but they played its own sound back to the creature. But they according to those scientists though, there was no pattern to the sound, any language or communication for the tonal quality, but it turns out it's actually the snarl and the growls of the creature. So they tried communicating it with by trying the hand with some wiring thing, and then the creature destroys it as it goes, particularly, and it causes the guy's arm to hurt though. So they introducing a chunk of rock that they got from the meteor of how. But it turns out it made the creature more angrier, so they tried to lower it, but the creature threw a chunk of rock from the meteor, and he destroys the floor, which leads him to the levels of the floor. So they have all red alert of the creature went loose inside how they expected something on these level 7s, where they activates all these microwave seal as well, because especially when the creature was running through the military complex in Project Prometheus as well. But when the creature notices that McGee's got the girl, but the Hulk pushes McGee aside when he rescued the girl, and the other men were shouting though, especially when the creature has gone anywhere. The scientists could figure out the way if something's happening as well, if these technicalities of gleaned from alien influences, particularly, if they could figure out what Prometheus had a lot to do in this particular scene, of what they could figure out a way. But when the creature reverts back to David, who's still as the demi-Hulk form, when Katie has wanted to figure out find clothes for David, who is still as the demi-Hulk form from one of those lockers, until he was cornered by Jack McGee with his scientists, especially if they could ever try to help him. Like when Jack McGee told David, who is still under the name as John Doe, that he saved Jack McGee's life once, but she told him that if he could have trusted him, particularly if they wanted peace. When Jack McGee realized that David told, who's under the nickname as John Doe, that he wanted some peace for the chance to make the creature go away if he could ever find the cure. When Jack McGee told him that those people that could study him, if they could find out only what happens, but if he's ever caught halfway between, which still has gotten to him, but David hated it. But these people who are scientists, who are with Jack McGee, could figure out a way. So the other scientists had to escort Katie out of the scene, and this other guy who with those tranquilizing weapon has gunning David, who is still has the Demi-Hulk form, with so many shots, which causes him to lead to a Hulk-out transformation at this point, though. But when David becomes the creature for the third time, he destroys every piece of metal, which causes the gas and the steam and all at those people. But then the creature throws something, and then he had to rescue the girl, which the scientists had to escort her away from the creature, though. If they could have ever thought if the creature was Banner. But then the creature has got the hold of two piping metals of how it's got, and then it causes the power overload in this military complex inside of a mountain. When the creature rescues the girl from danger, though, if something happens, and then he makes dent through those holes in there, just so he has a way to escape from the Prometheus, especially the power grids as happening in the military Prometheus. And then Jack McGee has to follow the creature to see what's going, especially when they had to send the alerts on in the vent to close the ball valve in the ventilation shaft, if they could have ever sealed it. With everyone who's working for Prometheus in this scene has to close it with the ball valve, so the creature, just to prevent the creature from not escaping Prometheus in that. But then the creature has tried to destroy the ball valve by keeping it open because it's almost sealed it, which causes to the danger by grab a hold of it. It's made the creature more stronger, and it causes the pressures building of how it causes destruction. But when the creature opens the ball valve from closing it, something happens with those pipes, including the fuel, and causes the gas tanks as to the explosions happening under of causing the destruction on Prometheus in the whole military facility, including the hydraulic lines caught fire, and they had to take out the fire extinguishers out, and especially the explosions happening in those main oil storage tank of what's happening in this. But when the creature has destroyed the ball valve, just because he's strong in this particular way as well, it seems to be. But when Jack McGee tries to follow the creature to see what the creature was up to, there was the military Prometheus facility explodes as soon as the creature runs off into the night with Katie in the Hulk's arms. When there's the damage control, especially the explosions on the fuel tank areas, or these personal, with how they get the units to fight the fire with fire extinguishers. The whole fuel tank inside the Prometheus facility explodes as soon as the creature was running through. And then he pushes the metal door thing or something through that area. So he runs off into the woods with the girl in his arms in that one. But when Jack McGee follows the creature where he was up to, he wanted to know where the creature went. But then he followed to see where it's going on. The creature takes her to the woods. It was a miracle of how he saved the girl's life. Despite that, she's been blind, though. And there's something how it happens before the creature reverts back to David Banner in his normal self once again. And then it was a huge miracle for how David Banner's back to his normal form after they escaped the Prometheus facility, though, which is a very good thing for how it has gotten to this as well. At this point, of course, Jack McGee told the woman named Charlene that the Prometheus has been closing down until they redesign it. Especially the experience was a disaster. If they could have thought, which is almost, if they could have the new technologies developing for several years. But it was turns out it was classified as top secret to avoid any publicity if they have any realizations of how this happened as well. But when ever since trampling through the forest and through those tunnels at Prometheus, because there was a little confidence, particularly of how she is going to town, especially getting from the plaza to Carnegie Hall as well. And she has the bus, and then she has a farewell to David. And she told him that she could have write for him a concerto in 3 movements for one each. And then she has a farewell to David. And then she told him if there's the final answer, if he could have his problem, though. And then she departs to the bus. And then that's how you end, with David walking away to town. Which, how you end this episode, 2-part episode, with the Lonely Man theme. The production is very good in Prometheus. I really loved it. It's very cool. I like it, though, because, especially for what I know this episode is written and directed by Kenneth Johnson. I mean, it was basically very awesome. I like it because this is pretty much how it's wanted to come by for a 2-part episode like Prometheus. Because, especially for what Kenneth Johnson, Robert Steinhauer, who is the producer of the show, has a lot to do, including, we got Laurie Prange, who played the girl from the Death in the Family, which is from the first season of The Incredible Hulk, appeared in this episode, which is very great to see her again, as well as the other cast of the other characters in this episode, though, as well, which is very new. And for overall, I consider this to be a best episode as well. I mean, the music is very unique, especially of how it sets the mood in this episode, like Prometheus, though. That's pretty new for that. And my score for the episode, the 2-part episode Prometheus from the 4th season of The Incredible Hulk, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 for this episode, though, because it's a pretty awesome episode, though. So that's going to be it for my review on the 2-part episode Prometheus from the 4th season of The Incredible Hulk for today's episode review for today, guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this one. Well, because I had to rewatch this episode, the one I'm watching from the TV series Ultimate Collection DVD set of The Incredible Hulk, even though this episode is also part in Season 4 set. But the one that I was watching on the Incredible Hulk TV series Ultimate Collection DVD set as a rewatch, though, because I had to do an episode review like this, just to give you aware for this as well. That's why. So, next week, I'll cover Mystery Man Part 1 and 2, which is from the episode from Season 2 of The Incredible Hulk. That's why. Hope subscribe for more content. Be sure to click on the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, especially if you're new to my channel, especially for watching the channel, because I'm getting in the entry on reviewing 2-part episodes from the Incredible Hulk series. That's why. And also, smack the like button if you enjoyed the video. Smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section by leaving right there in the comments below of what do you think of the episode Prometheus from the Incredible Hulk Season 4 as well. And be sure to check out my Anime Planet and Analyst at your leisure at this point. And that's all I have what I got for today. Wow. I had to review this episode that I haven't done one like this before until now. That's why. This is Rurouni K95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Be sure to stay safe and stay healthy and have a great day. This is Rurouni K95 signing off, and thank you for watching my video, and I will see you soon for more videos. Take care.